Hello, everybody. Live from sunny Southern California by way of the beach that is long, it is the OZone Thanksgiving edition. We're recording this live with our whole family, ladies and gentlemen, so if you hear noise in the background, just understand that there's a lot of love going on. We're cooking, we're eating, we're drinking, we are being merry, and we are thankful for the things that we've been given. How you feeling? I'm here. I'm Omar Miller. I'm moving so fast I can't even get it out.
Very festive.
With my brother from the same mother who's in a festive mood for once. He's not angry black, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Terry Miller, also known as the Icons.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm never angry.
Yeah, okay. Let's get Russell Westbrook on and see how you feel.
I'm not angry about him either. They're doing exactly what I said they were going to do.
Oh, my goodness. Anyways, it's a festive feeling, folks. What are you guys doing this Thanksgiving? It's the day after, so you guys are probably trying to digest some dry turkey. On our side, we're dealing with some great wine, lots of desserts. Oh, man, our mother can cook. We put up some sweet potato pie. A lot of African Americans eat sweet potato pie, folks. We don't really fool with pumpkin pie all that much. We got that. We got some chicken. We have some people that came over that are of the Jamaican descent who brought over some nice stewed jerk chicken.
Nice.
Pretty delicious. Did you have any?
I didn't have any.
Oh, you played yourself. Don't worry, there's plenty. We could feed a small army over here in Long Beach, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of delightful deluxe food going down. What else do we got to eat? There's some yams in there. We got yams. We got macaroni and cheese for days.
A little beef Wellington.
There's some Wellington in the house. There's cranberry sauce. 9/11 Paul, same color as cranberry sauce. Shout out to 50 Cent. It's a lot of good food in the house, but we're here to talk about sports. There's been some football games already today. There's basketball in the mix, and we got a lot to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to have some special guests. We want to talk about our favorite sport, Major League Baseball, and the MVP could be on the move. I'm pretty excited about that myself. We have the NFL. Are the Vikings for real, amongst other teams? There's been a lot of parity going on so far. It's very interesting. Them Saints, are they the best thing going? I don't know what happened to your Chiefs. I don't know what happened. I don't know, dude. I don't know. And then we had a winning streak come to an end, which could have started a losing streak that South Beach played a factor in because the Miami Heat beat the Boston Celtics. We have what their coach had to say about that. And then in the NFL, we have a player who's being sued for some adulterous activity. Pretty amazing what's going on out in Philly. Their schedule, their winning percentage, and now this lawsuit. But what we want to start off with is what everybody's talking about. LeVar Ball versus Donald Trump, ladies and gentlemen.
LeVar Ball versus the Cheeto.
Versus President Cheeto. Now, what's very interesting is when you think about it, you don't necessarily want to give over-the-top coverage to this topic. But we talked about it a little bit last week, and there's a couple new interesting wrinkles because they've been going back and forth. Now, you kind of I feel like LeVar Ball is playing games acting like the shoplifting wasn't that big of a deal.
He's even acting like getting his son out of prison is not that big of a deal,
And how do you feel about it with your son?
Man, I would be thanking the guy, honestly, if that's what it took, as long as my son is not in the labor camp and we can fix these or adjust these issues that he has when we get home. But first, I need to get him home and safe. And second of all, I don't want him to ever have to leave the country again and be thinking doing
something
stupid, and then taking a chance on getting, incarcerated in another country. It's the worst.
Now, how about this, though? Because I was thinking about it, and realistically, the boys that participated in this theft, realistically, in my opinion, their consequences would have been heavier if they would have shoplifted here.
Right.
If they would have shoplifted at the Louis Vuitton store in Beverly Hills,
and be looking at
Louis
expulsion
Vuitton store, exactly, not the Louis Vuitton store in China. They'd be looking at expulsion. They may be looking at some time.
Well, I figured that what they're not really looking at is all the different people and things that they hurt. They embarrass the nation. They embarrass the school. They embarrass the race. They embarrass their families, and all these things have to be taken into play. And you can't just act like it's nothing. I mean, I know that LeVar wants to have his pride and not be emasculated. This is not being emasculated. This is actually being, just saying thank you. If a guy opens up a door for you, even if I don't really care for that person, I can still say thank you, and he did a little bit more than that. Well, a lot more than that by getting his son out of a prison sentence.
Now, I have something to add to that I'd like to hear your take on. Given Donald Trump's history, how in the hell can we actually know that he actually spoke to the president of China about the boys?
Well, what would make you think, or how would you think that the boys would get off? I mean, he used a lot of, to me, it seems as if he used political clout to get the kids off. And I just honestly can't think that LeVar Ball has that kind of power.
I don't think it's LeVar Ball, but from what I've seen, UCLA, from what I've read, it's not North Korea. This is China. And from what I've read from a Hong Kong law professor and some other guys, they said that actually when foreigners get caught doing this, their sentence is expulsion from the country, not to be sentenced in the legal system. You're thinking North Korea, where the situation is like that kid that they killed, that terrible situation.
And from what I've gathered and read is that they took a chance on getting 10 years in the prison system, and they actually have like a 90% or higher rate of conviction.
I didn't read that.
Yeah, I read that when it actually first happened. So that's why I was saying that if the president did, and I haven't heard anybody contradict that. I haven't heard anybody.
I don't think anybody knows. I don't think there's any way to confirm that. Now, what I will say to Cheeto's credit is he's the one who came out and brought it up, because I saw when he spoke about it on Air Force One, and he said, hey, the boys everybody wants to know what's going on with the boys. They're coming home. I spoke with the president. It was embarrassing. And
it sounded above board.
It sounded above board.
And to me, it didn't sound like he was trying to belittle or anything. He said, now you guys go on with your life. You made a mistake, and the mistakes happen.
But then in classic self-promotion, style, he needed adulation for doing the right thing. He went to Twitter and said, watch, I bet you they don't even say thanks. And this is when things really exploded.
Yeah, but you know what? If that's what he decides to do, that's what he decides to do, because he's losing his blessing by doing that. But I can't join in on that.
Yeah, well, you're taking it to a spiritual level.
I don't want to go to another level of mine.
That's all that.
Dude, come down. You're gravitating, dude. I'm always on the spiritual level, player.
And then I don't know why you're so angry. But that's hard take with Cheeto versus LeVar. Personally, I think they should play one-on-one hoops or golf with America in the balance.
I'd say we put him in a boxing ring if that's what we're going to do.
Well, Donald Trump don't want none with nobody.
They said he likes to get physical. He said he likes to get physical. He said he likes competition, whether it be physical.
I can believe that. Yeah, he's very competitive. You can see that.
And it looks like he's aggressive. I don't think that
he is aggressive. He's aggressive until someone matches his aggression, I feel like.
And not only that, though, dude, he can last 30 seconds.
I'd be amazed.
I mean, because he's out of shape.
And I saw LeVar Ball on WWE. He was a stud still.
Yeah, he's a stud.
He's still 55 years, 6-year-old stud.
I money on LeVar.
Yeah.
Why you can't?
Did you thank the doctor for bringing you in the world? Then you better go back, because Big Baller Brand is.
Baller Brand.
Oh, Big Baller Brand. How can you be mad? Unbelievable. Did you see this other thing? About how LeVar Burton is getting all this bad mail behind everybody thinking he's LeVar Ball?
That's shame on the people. They don't look alike. Their names are not spelled alike.
And I'm going to tell you what else. It's the same concept of everybody thinking that I'm Quentin Aaron and Forrest Whitaker. And ultimately, there is something. I mean, America's getting exposed. Our panties are getting pulled up in a lot of different ways.
In a bunch.
Because.
Why do you have to bunch them up?
Because of the current political climate, what we're seeing a lot now is the discrepancies of the general public of America are coming to light. When you see, I don't care whether you're talking about the sexual harassment in Hollywood versus the pedophilia going on in the Senate, and everybody has their own political stance on it, versus LeVar Ball not being able to be differentiated between LeVar Burton, not being able to be differentiated between Omar Miller and Forrest Whitaker and Quentin Aaron. We are all one giant black blob to a lot of people.
Forrest Whitaker is how many years older than you?
Probably about 15.
I think probably a little bit more.
Maybe.
Come on, dude. Let's be for real.
I'm just telling you how it goes. Anything goes when it comes to... So... Very interesting situation going on with that.
You talking about basketball. Lonzo Ball, what I saw a disturbing number more so than anything. I'm pulling for the kid, but he's shooting 46% from the free throw line. That's more disturbing than anything.
That's unacceptable. Unless your name is Shaquille O'Neal.
Yes.
And it wasn't acceptable for Dwight Howard. Even Dwight Howard had to get up to 60%.
Come on, man. 46%?
Unacceptable.
By a point guard?
No, this ain't right.
That's not right.
And, it's a very interesting scenario because actually I like the young Lakers more than I've liked the Lakers in a very, very long time, I would say.
They're entertaining to watch.
They are. And you know what? Lonzo, I don't know. To me, he's getting held to the standard of what a point guard was what a point guard is now with Kyrie Irving, with Russell Westbrook, with Chris Paul, all of these guys who put up 20, Derrick Rose, all these guys who put up 20 plus a night.
And Magic Johnson then drafted him to be the point guard of yesteryear.
Of yesteryear, which is what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's almost averaging a triple-double.
Well, he's not, though. He only scores like 4 points a game or something.
No, bruh. We already went over this. Let's look it up because you're I don't know. I think we need to get Siri or Alexa or somebody on the scene because the kid is putting up almost 10 assists a night. 10 assists. Say that 10 times fast. You've been drinking wine. 10 assists a night. I've been living the dream. Let's see. We got him averaging
9 points a game, seven
boards,
and 7 assists.
Come on, man. That's almost triple dub. What are you talking about? 4 points a night. That's almost triple dub, T. You can't front on that, but
I can front on it because don't get it done.
No, see, but you can't. How are you gonna make it? It's not Lonzo Ball's fault that the Lakers don't win.
Well, it is because
it's not. They don't have enough pieces.
They put it all on him.
No. Come on, man. There's so many guys out there on that team that need help.
Like who?
As a unit,
Kuzma is real. Brandon Ingram is real now.
I'm gonna tell you who's real.
Clarkson.
Jordan Clarkson is real.
Yeah.
I ain't even been with homie Caldwell Pope.
Yeah, Jordan Clarkson's been real. He's been oppressed and suppressed by Kobe Bryant.
But in real life, is any young player in the league, first-year player, better than Ben Simmons?
No.
Ben Simmons is clearly the best rookie in the league. And in my opinion, if you watch Ben Simmons play consistently, low-key, Ben Simmons might be top 25 guys in the league. When you watch his game is beautiful.
Now, this is what we're talking about. He averages 18.53 points a game, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists.
These are serious numbers. There's 19 points a game.
It's real.
Those are real numbers.
Now, that's not Lonzo Ball's numbers.
No, but that's also not what they're asking for from him. I mean, I don't think they would be mad if he put up a dub, but I don't think that's what they're asking for from him because they want Brandon Ingram to get off. They want, other guys to get off. Ultimately, Lonzo Ball isn't even playing in the fourth quarter for a lot of games now, so it's not on him.
Well, one of the reasons why is because he can't hit free throws.
You can't 46% is
you
not
can't have
acceptable.
him in the game, although his father's complaining about Luke Walton now.
Now, I don't know if I'm looking at old numbers, but right now I'm looking at 43% for field goals.
43.
Free throws.
Well,
I don't know if that's maybe last night's game
was
against
probably
the Kings.
after last night because last night he missed free throws. I watched it, and that's how I learned that he was shooting under 50%, which is very, very. I can shoot 50%.
Half the free throws? Nobody's guarding me with bad knees. It's free money.
I just think that he's losing his confidence, and I think that they should address that more so than address anything.
Well, last night he actually got hot at one point, and I watched it. He got hot, and he seemed like he was doing well. Maybe that'll get his confidence up in his shot. Now, along those lines of confidence, the Clippers, as I understand it, are on a 9 or 10 game losing streak after getting off to, what was that, a 7 game winning streak to start the season or whatever that was?
Right. And the word on the street is either Doc has to go or DeAndre has to go.
And the word on the street is Blake is out all night in New York with his girl at the club after the loss at the Garden.
And the word on the street is Doc should have been gone.
Well, they took Doc out of the GM position, which is what you wanted. Yeah. Now you're calling for Doc to lose his job completely?
Why not? They're not winning. They've had more talent. They've had more talent in the last 5 years than any team in basketball, even more so than the Golden State Warriors. They haven't.
I don't know about that. They've had a lot of talent.
5 years, and they haven't come up with a system or a scheme to be able to get past the first round of the playoffs.
Is it Doc's fault that he gets them a 3-1 lead and they trick to the Rockets?
Yes,
3-1 lead.
It is the Doc's fault.
3-1 lead as a team.
It's Doc's fault because his team weren't prepared.
Ooh. I don't know.
How can you argue that? They weren't prepared. If they were prepared, they would close them out. You have to recognize after it goes 3-2 that you have to say, well, you know what? There's adjustments that need to be made.
Was it 3-0? It was 3-1, right?
Whatever it was ugly. It shouldn't have happened.
It shouldn't have happened. Well, either way it goes, guys that don't care about the losing streak, that then in turn, and I say guys in general. Patrick Beverley came out and said the other day that he felt like it feels like it's a 100-game losing streak. He can't get it together. He can't fathom what's going on.
And you talking about a guy from the Rockets?
They didn't have a bunch of losing streaks. They actually play well in the regular season. D'Antoni gets your wins together in the regular season. But they've been playing well for a few seasons. It's just that they don't go anywhere come playoff time unless they're playing the Clippers. But in this situation, I'm wondering, does it matter to the whole team? You spent all this time lobbying DeAndre Jordan to come back. He comes back last year. The team falls apart. Now, yes, like clockwork, come playoff time, the Clippers usually, Chris Paul and Blake Griffin usually got hurt, one or the other, or simultaneously, at which point we all knew that the Clippers ain't beating nobody without their two superstars.
Right. It's not possible.
It's not in the league today. But at the same time, now you're looking at a situation where they've reloaded. They're playing with the team that they have. They showed that they can win. This is how they started off the season so hot. And now it's like they don't care. And this is why I no longer have season tickets to the Clippers.
Well, just like
you could see that they didn't care during the season.
Yes, but this is why winning is contagious, and so is losing.
Yep, I agree with that.
And they've gotten into the contagious habit of accepting losing, and it's not acceptable if you're a professional athlete.
I agree, or just a professional person. Losing is losing. It ain't the right move, but. I don't know. This NBA season to me is more. This NBA season is more interesting than many in the years past, because even seeing the Cavs get off to a start like this, which has been a real surprise, but they're still making moves. The Wizards are starting off super hot. I just read something yesterday that said the Knicks have the most home wins in the NBA.
You had to get rid of Carmelo Anthony. It's just like that truck stop that I keep telling you that's going on in OKC. You have to there's only one ball, and you can't share it.
Yeah, and it's Big Baller Brand.
I thought it was Triple B.
That's Big Baller Brand.
But it's three of them. One ball. No?
I'm sure there's more people in their family than just one.
Triple B.
Oh, my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so, the Knicks look good, surprisingly, at home at least. I don't know,
Tim Hardaway Jr. is the real deal.
Tim Hardaway Jr. is the real deal. And Porzingis is the real deal.
And Porzingis. You just need a nice two-piece to be able to get you some dubs.
It's better with three.
It's better with three, but you need a nice two-piece to be competitive.
Nice two-piece, which is all the more reason that there shouldn't have been a problem down in South Beach last night with the Celtics and the Miami Heat.
But it was.
And I told you guys before, and I'll tell you again, I spend a lot of time in South Beach. There is a place that all the players go that they shouldn't go, because they go and they're shown a very good time and lots of free drinks and good times and good time with ladies.
Funhouse.
And next thing you know, they show up at the arena and they don't have good games.
Their legs.
They ran their legs.
They don't have no legs. What's wrong with their legs? What's wrong with their leg? Why they can't do it?
They red their leg. Inside jokes, ladies and gentlemen. Inside jokes. Well, we got somebody who may want to call in and speak about what's going down in Boston town. Boston Mike on the Ozone. What's going down?
Not much, boys. Not much. How you doing?
I'm great, man. What about you?
To the East Coast.
Happy Thanksgiving to you. Late on the turkey day.
Yeah, thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving to you, too.
Well, since we're in a giving mood, are you thankful for a winning streak from the Celtics, or are you mad that it's over? Talk to me about what's going on in Boston sports.
Well, to tell you the truth about the Celtics right now, that streak was no big deal. Boston has been winning all their games. The key to their success has been defense and rebounding. On offense, Boston ranks 27th out of 30 teams. They only had 3 wins that they were leading at halftime. They shot against the Golden State Warriors. They were shooting just 33%, and they beat them. Their shot percentage is 43%, and only Sacramento, Dallas, and Chicago have shitty shooting percentages.
Damn, that's pretty low in the league there.
They're 18th at 3 points. They're 25th in 2 points. But I have to say this is all but they are the number 1 scoring defense in the NBA. They hold their opponents to the fewest amount of points. They're also the 2nd in defense in field goals, and they're number 3 in defense on 3-point shots. And let's face it, Kyrie Irving is a better passer and a better defender than advertised. That kid can ball.
Than advertised, he's always been known as being a great ball player. He's got some of the best handles, if not the best handles, in all of basketball.
Well, people forget last year during the conference finals, the Celtics were toying a little. They were like making some heat with the Cavaliers, and they beat them in Game 3, and they were up by 12 points in Game 4 when Kyrie Irving threw in 42 and shut them down, and that just broke our souls.
It sure did.
It just ended it. But I can tell you this, Brad Stevens, with this team, now you only have 4 returning players from last year's team, which went to the conference finals. Brad Stevens is a top 5 every year coach of the year. He has been since the day he got here. And Charles Barkley talked to me the other night saying that's just lazy, trying to tell everybody that last year's Celtics team was better than this year's. It's just terrible.
We know that Charles Barkley's mind is not right. There's no way that they could be better with. They didn't have Kyrie Irving. There's no way that they could be better.
But what's the problem? They had Isaiah Thomas. Boston Mike, is that you?
Isaiah Thomas is a fine player, but he's like mini-me. You know, he's not going to carry you to the promised land. And the team that they have right now, and the players they have, I really think, even if Abe Hayward doesn't even come back this year, Kyrie Irving is not going anywhere. Kyrie Irving has a love affair with Boston that goes back to his mother and father. They both graduated from Boston University. His father played in the 80s at BU, and he was one of the premier players in the East. It was him and Reggie Lewis would play against one another, you know, Northeastern versus BU, and it just went toe-to-toe. It's some of the best college games I ever saw in my life. Dre Irving versus Reggie Lewis.
Okay, but
his parents met in college at BU. He actually, when he was in 5th grade, believe it or not, BU gave him a full ride to play basketball there.
But all of that aside, are they going to come out the East?
Well, we're you know what? We might not have it this year because of the fact with Hayward hurt. But I think that they could go to 7 against Cleveland and maybe even take Cleveland. And if they do take Cleveland,
no.
Well, the Warriors should better watch out.
I don't think that you guys can beat Washington this year.
Oh, we're going to kill Washington. Washington got worse, not better.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a terrorist threat. You heard it here first.
All right. Well, I was actually, believe it or not, I was in a coma from eating all that jerky.
No excuses here in the OZone.
Now,
I was literally, I was one step away from being totally comatose, sleeping. Well, yeah, I had a great turkey day, and I knew you were trying to rub it in a little with that streak, bro. Yeah, the Celtics have bigger streaks than that. That's only the 4th longest streak in their career. You know, the Celtics. It's only the 24th longest streak in NBA history. I mean, get up to 21 games or something like that. Then talk to me.
That's a serious streak.
Yeah, that's real.
Now, but hold on a second. Now, what I want to talk about to you really quickly, Boston Mike, what I want to speak about is how does New England feel in the cold about Chris Sale losing to Cy Young?
You know what? I believe that was a travesty. I really do. Sale, he's the man. You know, he maybe towards the second half of the season, I think Farrell maybe managed him incorrectly. Farrell was supposed to be this pitching guru that he would change everybody. They kind of let him out there and made him. He pitched way too much. You know, and he has a history of fading a little in the second half of the season. But exactly. I think I really like how strong they are, and if Price can come back, because Price is a stud. I don't care what anybody says. He can't win in the postseason. That guy's a stud. I'll take it. I'll take his 23 wins in the regular season or 18 wins in the regular season, and we'll fight it out in the postseason. But,
you got Benintendi.
Dude, well, any other year, that kid, any other year.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
What?
Unbelievable.
Any other year, he'd be Rookie of the Year. Now, what happens? Do we trade JBJ?
No, God, no.
Well, I'm thinking if we can't get the kid from Miami, which they're trying to shake out, then we take the first baseman from Chicago, And we have another thumper in the minors right now that because of all this turkeys kind of.
Yeah, but I thought that you guys were trying to get JD Martinez.
Oh yeah, he's an okay player. He's to me.
Wait a minute, Mike. Why do you always go too far?
You ate too much turkey, dude. You ate too much turkey.
No. Listen. He's not. He's no different than that first baseman we have right now, Mitchell. I mean, well, he's not that. He's not that.
Mitch Moreland and JD Martinez? Are you drunk on turkey?
And not only that, I would take JD over Mike Stanton.
He's a good clubhouse guy, but I just don't see it. I don't see it.
Well, it's going to be interesting because the Yankees were definitely ahead of schedule this year. Nobody expected them to be where they got to. And now Boston has to play catch up when Boston was actually like openly favored, even here on the OZone. We talked to you about it in opening day. Now we're what? Sure. We're about 100 days away from spring training, 90 days away from spring training.
I told you Benintendi was going to be a stud this year.
You also told us Jackie Bradley Jr. was the best center fielder hitting and fielding in the game. That didn't work out too well.
Not hitting. The best fielding center fielder, and I still stand by that. He got raped that he didn't get a Golden Glove this year. That was the biggest travesty in Boston. We're still sitting there scratching our head. What does that guy have to do? He was a human highlight reel all year. And I mean, Mookie got his, which Mookie deserves his. Their outfield is solid. I mean, but I love JBJ. But if I can get Stanton, adios, JB.
Wow.
Adios.
Me personally, I love the Michael Jackson dance that they did at the end of wins myself.
Yeah.
I particularly liked it when Benintendi won.
Yeah. Right. Well, I'm telling you this. We move Mookie to center. We put Stanton in right, and you keep the young Yastrzemski there, and that's what Benintendi reminds me of.
All right.
The kid can hit. He's a hopper. He can hit.
Oh no. The kid can hit, and the kid can also play defense. He's got the potential to be a 5-tooler. But let's get out of baseball real quick.
He can run. He's a little bit too aggressive almost on the bases.
It's true.
He was thrown out more than any player in the league last year. Yeah, stretching singles. Yeah, but I tell you this about the Yankees. They don't really worry me. They got crap for pitching.
I can't say that. Lou Severino almost won the Cy Young, and rightfully so.
And they're probably going to pick up that kid from Japan, Ohtani.
Because they can afford him.
Well, you know what? We took that superstar from Japan, the best one they ever had, and he had a 1.5 decent seasons for us. I'm not worried. Those Japanese pitchers, for the most part, they're either frail or they don't perform here.
But guess what? This kid can swing the stick.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I guess so. So you got Rick Aguilera. Japanese Rick Aguilera.
Hey, now tell me this. Boston Mike, real quick before we get you out of here, what's going on in New England with the Patriots? Talk to me. Is touchdown Tommy too old? Is it all good? Tell me what's going on. You got a 2-minute rant. Lay it on me.
Listen, our defense stinks. Our defense stinks. A Gilmore signing, I think that he's actually playing a little bit better. Butler, to me, I feel like they have no front seven. I mean, they're decimated, and I think Bill the GM outthought himself by getting rid of Collins, getting rid of Jones, just getting rid of all these guys one after another. You know, thinking it was okay that he was smiling on them. But we've had a lot of injuries, but I think they make adjustments. They do the bend don't break on the defense, and I think this year, because of all of the weapons they have on offense, and I mean a boatload. They got 5 running backs, and you don't know who they're going to throw it to.
And none of them are good.
And even with no Edelman, that kid Cook, your Cook's there, he scares the bejesus out of everybody. And no Hogan. I mean, but you got all these replaceable guys. You have a Danny Amendola, which is sitting there now. He's doing it. I just think these guys, and I think getting back the hamburger helper hands there. Bennett, the hands are like the size of the hamburger helper guy. And he's like Mickey Mouse size hand. That guy is going to be... How great is Bill the GM on that? He convinces him not to have the surgery and forego until after the season, and he signs him.
Unbelievable.
He picks him up for waivers. I mean, and then Allen all of a sudden has woke up. You know, playing Allen, I thought for sure, I said, Jesus, he's going to get cut the second the Benintendi gets in here. But he's been playing well, too.
All right.
And what you have in Tommy Terrific on that team, they're not going anywhere. Realistically, it could be 2030 before the wheels fall off of that team.
Boston Mike,
I want to see him play till he's 60.
You are always welcome in the Ozone. You are family in the Ozone. We love you, brother. Hey, happy Thanksgiving from the warm, sunny Southern California beaches all the way out to New England. And we love you, man. Have a great Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you soon.
Be safe. Ozone.
I love you guys, too. Now, hey, my website, the Free Kong Now.
You know what? Let's talk about it. Talk about Free Kong Now. Give us a quick. You got 30 seconds to lay out Kong's case. Lay it on us.
All right. Kong Chen has been in the United States for 25 years. He has never hidden from the government. He's paid his taxes all along. What had happened to Kong was a travesty. He had a bad lawyer who ended up going to jail. He paid him a lot of money. He thought he was straight, thought he was a U.S. citizen. 5 years ago, ICE came in and tried to take him out. We've been fighting ever since then to keep him in the United States. His wife and children are U.S. citizens. His mother and father are here legal. His brother and sister are U.S. citizens. We just want a fair case. We want them to open up this case and see the travesty of justice to send this man back to China, to pull him away from his family. He is a taxpayer who's never broken a law in Massachusetts or anywhere in the world. And even our police chief said if I had more people like him, I'd be out of a job.
So he's just like you, Boston Mike. He's never broken a law in his life. He's a law-abiding citizen that loves Boston. Now, let me tell you something. Tell the people.
He loves America. He loves being in America. He loves being an American.
So you tell me this. Where can people find Kong's story and how can they help? Give them the website and then we're going to sign off.
All right. It's freekongnow.com. FreeKongnow. And you can see the stories, the ones that were done for PBS, the ones on the local channel. You see everything there. All right, guys, I love you. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and hopefully we'll talk to you right around Super Bowl time.
Boston Mike, love you. Talk to you soon.
Late.
Oh, boy, ladies and gentlemen, it's going down on the Ozone. It's loud. I'm sure you can hear the party going on in the background. People keep busting into the studio. You know what? We got some special guests here in the studio, and they want to get in. They want to talk. They've been talking to us live and out and about in the road and in the world. Right now, we had a big game that came into play. It didn't work out the right way, and there's somebody outside who's pretty upset about it. We're going to bring him in right now. Cowboy Kev, live in the Ozone. The Dallas Cowboys let you down today. I never thought in life that I would see the Dallas Cowboys get blown out on Thanksgiving. I was hoping you were still on the flight. It didn't work out. Talk to me about what happened out there.
Well, I can't say that it's happy. It's Thanksgiving, but it wasn't happy.
So you're feeling like a Native American is what you're telling me.
I had a little jet lag. I was excited about getting up this morning. Tradition of seeing the Detroit Lions play early, and then get ready for my Cowboys, see my family, have some good dinner and fellowship with family. But I don't think the Cowboy offense got the memo today.
Is it Jason Garrett who forgot to press send on the fax memo? What happened?
Jason Garrett. I have to give a little bit of Dak. I think Dak
let you down today.
Yeah, Dak. I was disappointed. I think he's overthinking things now to the point where he's indecisive when he should be making quick decisions. Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott missing is
enormous.
It plays a big part, but still, the O-line has been a little
suspect.
That's being nice.
That's being generous.
But we got some injuries. You know, Tyron Smith has been injured most of his career, but he's still a beast. The O-line isn't what it used to be, and so I think at times Dak has to not try to press the issue of trying to force some pass plays and
And it is his second year in the league. It's not like we're talking about, Tom Brady here, somebody that's been in the league forever and ever, who is expected to make plays that other guys wouldn't be expected to. There seems like there's a lot of pressure that comes along with playing under that big star in Texas. And Dak seems to me up to the challenge when he has all of his weapons. When he doesn't have all of his weapons, he is not the same guy.
Well, I'd like to be honest and say that Dallas really doesn't have a lot of talent. They don't have a lot of talent out there anymore. Dez Bryant is old. Terrence Williams is a mediocre receiver, and so is Cole Beasley. Jason Witten is old. You have two young studs. You have Ezekiel and Dak Prescott. And after that, you've got
the defense is weak.
Yeah. If guys are in the NFL, then you got some type of talent. Now,
no doubt about that.
You tell me the New England Patriots don't have talent? They don't have guys that are old? Now, one thing is the system. Belichick, for whatever reason, he finds a way to get it done with what he has.
But the New England Patriots have talent. They have top-tier receivers.
They also have guys who have stepped up and shown the ability to make plays. Somebody has to make plays. We can't always use the excuse that you don't have talent.
Yeah, talent, but you need talent, though. They don't have talent at all.
You do need talent, but you also have Diamond and Russ. You have guys that come on, that they accept the challenge and step up.
But
somebody has to step up.
Dallas doesn't have that.
We don't have it. You've had the number one offensive line.
Yeah, but
you've had the
offensive line, but offensive
best running back as of last year. So,
do you have the best owner in the league? And does that factor into the field play?
Well, according to Forbes, you got the number one franchise as far as NFL football and franchises as a whole in sports. So there's some that would say, he's doing a great job as far as the value of the team, which is ultimately what his job is, to make that team as valuable as he can.
This is true. 100%. This is true.
Him also wanting to be GM, coach, and offensive play caller and everything else,
it's a little bit much.
That's a little much. You can't do everything. And so there has to be some delegation. But I think a lot of the finger pointing, like you said earlier, needs to go to Jason Garrett. And he has to set the tone. And I don't believe he's had these guys ready to play week in and week out.
I believe that he doesn't have talent. That's the bottom line, because they don't have talent. When you compare him to the New England Patriots, New England has Chris Hogan. They have Danny Amendola. Amendola is probably one of the oldest ones, and then you have Grunt.
But
you're talking about Jason
had talent when he came into the league, when New England?
When Danny Amendola came to New England, he was one of the top receivers in the league. He was playing for the Rams, and he was one of the top receivers.
Would you say that Dez Bryant had talent when he came to
Dez Bryant doesn't have talent anymore. Like
Dez Bryant still has talent. Dez Bryant was only thrown. He was on one pass play. Was he thrown to, and that wasn't until 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter today.
That's not a test.
He hasn't had a 100-yard game since last year.
But Dez Bryant doesn't get separation anymore, so he can't get. He can't throw the pass when he's not open.
You don't always have to have separation, because there's something that's called the over-the-shoulder pass. That Phillip Rivers, the first half, that's all he did. That's all he did.
He found Keenan Allen a lot with that.
And this is different because Keenan Allen has separation, but
he wasn't even separated. That's the thing.
He had 170-something yards. He obviously got some separation.
No, he had linebackers guarding him. One thing, linebackers, it's a mismatch already. So all he has to do is go through his normal moves, and he's going to get open. So this gets back to Jason Garrett and the offensive play calling. Somebody's got to be able to get this man into a position where, just like, you take New York with Odell Beckham. They move him all over the field. I don't think there's enough variety in the play calling to. I mean, it's pretty much you going.
Basically, you sound like you're unhappy and unsatisfied with what's going on.
I am. I'm very disappointed. Now, at the same time, there's a lot of holes within the team, offensively and defensively at this point.
Right.
And mainly defense. But for the most part, the defense has come off in the first half, at least, has held teams to a number where they're still in the game, but the offense has given you absolutely zero.
No, what's the future from
no
here?
Excuse.
But what's the future from here? Do we say it would have been better for let Zeke actually just serve his suspension early,
yes,
and then go from there? Because now you're talking about you guys might end up being a 7-win team.
Yeah, I think it was a big risk to, try to let the court system play out, however, appeal and all of that. Go ahead, take the 6 games early so that the team can get some type of identity, learn to play without him for the moment. Maybe build some momentum. Like you said, some guys step up. You got some diamonds in the rough. Somebody step up. Alfred Morris, D-Mac 2 years ago had 1,100 plus yards. So,
and he's a Raiders product.
Yeah,
so
but that's 2 years ago, and he's old.
2 years in the NFL is a long time.
He didn't even play that shit.
But the average lifespan of an NFL running back is like 2 to 3 years, and he played full time when he was in Oakland.
Right.
So he's spent.
But
He's spent. Alfred Morris is spent. The bottom line is that there is no successful quarterback without a running game, unless he's a running quarterback himself. Because Emmitt Smith did the same thing to Troy Aikman when he sat out a couple of games, and Troy Aikman looked like a mere mortal once Emmitt Smith wasn't in the game anymore.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I also think that's where Dak has to learn. Sometimes he's got to put his head down and go get those 5 to 6 yards, and he's trying to, on 3rd and 4, he's trying to throw a 12, 14-yard pass, forcing it to somebody instead of putting his head down. He can get because
you saw what happened to him earlier today. He ran for a touchdown. They had a holding penalty and brought it back.
That's another thing. That gets back to the
preparation.
Coach.
That's the coach.
And coach discipline. Yeah, I think there's a lack of that. Every week you got 7 to 10 penalties for close to 100 yards a game, when there always seems
to be very difficult to win
like
like that.
Raider Nation.
It is very and as I can tell you from a Raider Nation fan, it's very difficult to win games when you're giving up that many yards and penalties.
And I believe Jerry and Al Davis were very good friends.
I feel like Al was a little bit. I have a feeling Al would have supported the knee protest. I think Al Davis would have supported taking a knee, to be honest. It's the Raider way.
Yeah.
He's that type of guy.
He's that type of guy. Now, what's your take? Yeah, he's not that type of guy anymore. So what's you guys' take on Marshawn Lynch taking the knee for the American anthem and standing for the Mexican anthem down in Mexico City?
Well, what they said about Marshawn Lynch before anyway is that he's been sitting on the American anthem forever. So why is it big now? Why is it amplified? Yeah. There's no amplification.
It's just more distraction to me. Yeah. It's something else to talk about than what the whole thing started in the first place with Colin Kaepernick.
Especially since the narrative has been twisted.
The narrative's been twisted. And by the way, R.I.P. yesterday would have been Tamir Rice's birthday, who was the young black man killed when the young boy killed when he was 12 years old playing in the park with a toy gun. If you haven't seen the video, type in Tamir Rice. It's devastating. The police ride up on a kid like he's Clyde Barrow, and they ride up on him in a park, and they make no hesitation, and they gun the young kid down. He's 12 years old, and he dies. And he would have been 15 years old yesterday, and America has a long ways to go.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's
2017, we're still
talking about the same nonsense
so far. Yeah.
Well, Cowboy Kev, obviously your family, you got the invite for Thanksgiving as you always have.
I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that.
Well, we had to do something for him after the Cowboys got a shellacking like that.
That's all right. We live to play another day.
There it is. Always happy to have you on the OZone. Ladies and gentlemen, the All-Star Parade continues. We're live at the Miller household for Thanksgiving. And we're here with a special guest who stopped by. He was driving through California, folks. He's a longtime contributor to the OZone. He gave me a call. I said, you know what? You need to come by and get some turkey in your life. You need some turkey. You need some sweet potatoes. You need some homemade ice cream. I don't want you to go out on that road, on these great roads of the United States of America, hungry. And I said, you know what? You come in here. We're doing a Thanksgiving edition. Ladies and gentlemen, Trucker Dave. Trucker Dave, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Great family get together. You forgot about the mashed potatoes, the gravy.
Delicious.
The collard greens.
Oh, how about the beef Wellington?
Well, I'll pass on the beef Wellington. It's a great day. I just wanted to get out of New Mexico, and wasn't good, and the elevation wasn't good for our players, and frog catches, and we're still missing Julian.
So, speaking of which, we just had Boston Mike on. Boston Mike had a very interesting take on where New England is, and he thinks Tom Brady can play till 2030, perhaps. He was joking, but but you know how Boston Mike is.
What can you do?
Well, he's optimistic. Now, what's your take on the state of things right now in the NFL?
The NFL is getting interesting, especially in the NFC. You know, NFC is looking really interesting because you have the Saints, you have Philadelphia, you have a team that played today like Minnesota. Where did Case Keenum come from? All of a sudden, this guy's an all-star.
Wow.
You know? He looks like a $20 million a year.
You know where he came from? He came from with the same place where Jared Goff came from. He came from out of the shadow of Jeff Fisher. That's where he came from. And Jeff Fisher has been holding guys back, and he's been eating good, but he's been holding guys back for a long time. And we don't know how long and how good those Ram teams in St. Louis could have been. The city of St. Louis should be upset at Jeff Fisher because you know what? They might not have lost their team if Jeff Fisher hadn't mismanaged it. Because you look at it, they had Chris Long out there on defense.
That's true.
They had a lot of great players on offense and defense, but they could never get the job done and get to the next step. Now Jeff Fisher steps away, and voila! All of a sudden, Todd Gurley's back. All of a sudden, Jared Goff is the guy that he was projected to be. And Case Keenum comes out of nowhere, and he's leading the team. And they're 9-2 now.
Well, actually, even Nick Foles, when he left there and went to Philadelphia, right? He lit it up for a little while.
That's very true, but you have to give some credit to Eric Dickerson because Eric Dickerson was the one that brought it to the forefront last year.
And he brought it up loud.
Yeah.
It was not subtle. He brought it up like the party going on outside, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, so you can't ever go against the Hall of Famer because it has some repercussions.
Consequences and repercussions. It's true.
Good job.
Well, look at him now. I mean, he's still getting.
I think Jeff Fisher is pulling up. I saw him eating a rib outside. I think he was here.
So he's eating good.
He's eating good. I mean, listen.
What can you do?
$45 million deal. He's going to be all right. You don't have to worry about him.
Right. You know, he's. Some guys are just suited to be defensive coordinators and not take that step to becoming a head coach. And Jeff Fisher was still living off of that play that that almost was in the Super Bowl.
And everybody always talks about that play like it would have won the Super Bowl. It wouldn't have even won the Super Bowl. It would have tied it or something.
They would have tied the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it would have tied the game.
We're talking about against the Titans?
Yeah. Well, no, when he was a coach of the
Against the
Titans
Rams.
and against the Rams.
Yeah. Sorry. I got that in reverse.
Yeah, they're just talking about giving their team an opportunity, and that's what that does. Anything can happen. It's 50-50 if you get, into overtime.
So, surprise teams, Carson Wentz is a real deal. There's no two ways about it.
I agree.
I watched the Philadelphia Eagles play, and I feel like I could be watching a world champion, to be honest. All year, they've been consistent. You don't want to see them in Philadelphia, I tell you that much. But Carson Wentz and these boys make plays, man.
But this is why I lean more towards the Saints at this point because, first of all, Drew Brees has won already.
He's been there.
And he's got a two-headed monster in his backfield, and he actually has good defense now. And they're not just relying on his arm. So what they did last week was they pulled the rabbit out the hat. Because what they said was, okay, now we're in trouble and we might lose this game. Drew, go ahead and do what you do.
Yeah,
and he did it.
And he did it in the span of about 5 minutes, maybe even less than that.
Right.
And what he can do is still impressive, So they're talking about this might be his last year in New Orleans, and I think that would be a mistake,
I agree, because they figured it out, and him and the coach do really well together.
Right.
Now, going back to Philadelphia, did you guys see this TMZ-worthy bit about Fletcher Cox?
Right. I saw that guy destroyed someone's wedding.
Cox being the key word. He's being sued by a man in North Carolina for some lewd text messages that he says proves that his wife was having an affair with him, where he's talking about, hey, I want to get you pregnant, and no, I'm not playing. Just a married woman in North Carolina, you can sue for that. And now the man's saying, listen, man, because of this guy, my wife has left me. She's lost affection for me. She blocked me on Instagram, and my life is ruined.
Well, R. Kelly did a similar thing. A guy down in Mississippi, I think it was a police officer, suing him for taking his wife from him. So,
wow.
Nothing should really seem to amaze you these days with, people are with these sexual allegations almost every field now. It's coming
every field.
Wow.
And the sexual appetites of professional athletes have always been, something of lore.
Well, and I say if it's legal in that state, he can sue him. That's how he feels.
That's what he's doing. That's what's happening right now.
Man, come on.
Now, I don't think that's going to hold Philadelphia back from some playoff prowess, but I can say that I'm surprised by the Eagles. I'm surprised by the Vikings more than anybody, because when Teddy Bridgewater disappeared because of the injury, now they're in a tough spot because you can't get him back into the rotation, really. There's no, how do you get him back in the rotation?
Well, I think you don't really try to get him back in the rotation at this point. He's proven that he's a starter.
Yeah.
So I would look at possibly trying to move him.
You think?
Get a high draft pick for Teddy Bridgewater. Why would you let him play at this point? He hasn't played in 2 years, not even the preseason game. So I'm sure he could be worth a late first round, second round pick to some team, Cleveland. Somebody needs a quarterback.
Yeah, that would help them a lot. And now, what do you think about this surprise success? I mean, if it's surprise, they have an organization with a history of winning. But what about the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I think something, I'll come back to that. But if you really look at the Rams have surprisingly enough to make some noise, man.
Right.
They
got enough to
really
make
are
some noise.
dangerous because anytime that you can put pressure with your front four, you don't have to blitz.
Yeah.
You have a running game. You have two really good receivers on the outside.
Yep.
I think Robert Woods just got hurt, but
He did.
I like the Rams. Anytime you can, when the playoffs comes and you can shorten the game, those kind of teams are the ones that are going to be really, really dangerous because you got to still remember with Minnesota, if Aaron Rodgers comes back, as good as their record is, they have a problem with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, they do. Now, to me, the interesting part is that I feel about the Rams the way I felt about the Cleveland Indians. Is that the impressive thing about the Rams is they can beat you however they want it.
I agree.
However you want it, actually. If you want to have a shootout, guess what? Ty Gurley can run all over you.
Right.
And so can Jared Goff can get Keenan Allen, the rest of the guys the ball that not Keenan Allen, can get Sammy Watkins and the rest of the guys the ball that can get the job done. But unfortunately, it didn't work out for the Cleveland Indians. But it's a different sport, baseball and basketball, baseball and football. And now going to the AFC. I feel like you always have to watch out for the Patriots because they've had the experience. They have the dynamic duo of Belichick and Tom Brady. I have to say this year I'm the least worried about New England that I've ever been. They look like, given the proper competition, they may just fold. Not fold, but I don't feel like they necessarily have all the weapons to get the job done. Surprisingly, to me, the Pittsburgh Steelers have been able to make a series of serious moves and noise in the AFC. The reason it surprises me is because last year when Ben Roethlisberger got hurt, and we talked about it earlier on the OZone, earlier in the season, when he was talking about retiring, football and boxing aren't the kind of sports that you can flirt with retirement with. You'd either be on one side of the coin or the other. Somehow or another, he still got enough in his arm to get the ball to them boys out there, to Martavis Bryant, to AB,
Schuster,
and to Schuster,
who should be the rookie of the year.
And then you got Le'Veon, who does what Le'Veon does. And the thing that I like about Pittsburgh is that it took them a while to figure it out. At the beginning of the season, they weren't great. And somehow or another, I don't know if it's through, Mike Tomlin's leadership, obviously that plays a part in it, or leadership from the other veterans on the team, they figured out ways to make their team the best of what that team could be, in my opinion.
I agree with you, but one thing that you really, really have to look at is something that I looked at earlier this morning.
The schedule?
Is the schedule.
They haven't played anybody.
And what the schedule is saying right now is New England has 2 games against Miami. Jay Cutler's the quarterback. That's 2 wins. They have 2 games against Buffalo. That's 2 wins. You have 1 game against Pittsburgh. That is probably, Belichick will probably put the best effort he can because he knows he has to win that game. Basically what I'm trying to say is this. They're probably going to win 6 games.
I agree.
Their schedule. And Pittsburgh is going to
being 12-4.
No, they're going to be 14-2.
Oh, jeez.
Pittsburgh is going to probably lose 1. So what happens every year?
Pittsburgh has to go up and has to go through New England, which is a problem, especially for Mike Tomlin.
It's a huge
because he just refuses to make an adjustment, and he gets beat up every year against the Patriots the same way too. That's the thing.
Well, for me, I honestly don't believe Pittsburgh is as good as everybody thinks that they are because they really haven't played anybody.
You think it's smoke and mirrors?
Smoke and mirrors. They beat the Bengals. They beat
a la the Kansas City Chiefs earlier,
but then they played against the Jags and got stomped, and they beat the Ravens.
The Jags defense is so
the Bears beat them. They really haven't beaten anybody that on their schedule.
So, in your opinion, they beat who they were supposed to beat?
Yes, they beat the Colts 20-17. You got to blow the Colts out. Colts had one of the worst pass defenses in football, and you have some of the best receivers in football. And you have one of the best, if not the best, running back in football. Yeah. So there's no reason for that game to be close. So it's hard for me to take them serious.
But just this kid Schuster, I think that came out of UCLA.
Very, very impressive.
Juju.
But if you
now Juju is a sports recruit. He's a D1 bound. He comes out of Los Angeles, and I've been hearing about this kid Juju. Him and Adoree Jackson down in Tennessee. They're buddies, and they've been getting coverage out here for the last 5-6 years since high school. The kids have been balling, and they've been on a fast track to the NFL ever since they were, 15, 16 years old. And that kid is out there doing his thing. Both of them, actually.
He is out there doing his thing. And you know what he's motivated by? The fact that the scout said that he couldn't separate.
And because they didn't give him, I think they didn't give him maximum stars in high school going into college, and then in college going into the pros. That scout said that he couldn't get it done, so he's played with a chip on his shoulder the whole time. Whereas his partner Adoree Jackson has been celebrated the whole time, and Adoree isn't even a big guy.
Yeah, but Adoree's good.
He's good, and I tell you what, he's an all-world athlete. Yeah. He set some records at SC for long jump. He's an all-world track athlete as well. He's just an athlete.
Plays on special teams. He's across the board.
He's been playing both sides of the ball his whole life, and if they let him do it in the show, he would do it in the league too.
He's awesome, man. Yeah. I mean, but a sleeper team to me are the Jags. And then
I was going to say the same thing. Calais Campbell has changed the whole team.
They have great defense. The biggest problem is Blake Bortles.
He's the biggest problem.
So and the receivers are hurt. They have one primary receiver, but other than that, I mean, if you can get a tight end to help him out or whatever, because Blake Bortles needs a lot of help. You never know what Blake Bortles is going to show up.
I agree.
And there's a problem, but you got Leonard Fournette, so if it comes down to it, and you stack the box, then you make Blake Bortles have to pass the ball, then we can, so there's parity, and it's not in a good way in the AFC. The AFC should not win the Super Bowl this year.
But see, the problem is that here you go again, is you got a team, a warm weather team that's going to have to travel, and it's been a proven fact that those warm weather teams in the playoffs do not play well in the cold.
Except for the Raiders in the tuck rule.
Yep.
Other than that,
exception to the
they didn't win.
No, they didn't win. They didn't win. But it wasn't their fault that they didn't win. How about that?
Yeah.
But you know what? I just watched that play again a couple of days ago, and it really looked like it was an incomplete pass. I mean, Tom Brady has got the Derek Jeter.
Stop it. I mean, you're drinking the Kool-Aid right now. That's a fumble. Everybody in the ozone land, you guys know Tom Brady fumbled that ball. It changed the course of his career in the same way that LeBron James' career got changed. The course of when they called that bogus foul on Kevin Durant in Game 2 of the NBA Finals early in their careers, changed the course of history for Tom Brady. It was a big deal. Tom Brady was going to be great either way it goes, but that got the ball kicked off in a way that was unbelievable because the Raiders were better than the New England Patriots that year. Nobody gave them a chance. They went up there to Foxborough, and Charles Woodson himself almost won that game single-handedly. They went up there and balled.
Almost, but you look at it afterwards, him and Derek Jeter, they're just born winners. You look at afterwards, look at the rest of the drive. How could this dude come out of Michigan, be this poised in a playoff game in the snow like this? It's unbelievable. How did Derek Jeter make that play that he made? Some guys can control it. There you go.
By the way, they're both University of Michigan products.
Wow.
As is number 24. Ooh, too soon, Flint. As is number 24, Charles Woodson, who was on the other side of that play. Yeah. How about them apples?
But Charles Woodson was a great corner safety. I mean,
which, by the way, my mother talked me out of going to the University of Michigan. Those guys made me want to go to the University of Michigan and be a Wolverine.
Why do you want to go to Michigan?
She didn't say it that dramatically, but that's exactly what she said. She said, "Hey, I know you.
On your face.
I'm from the cold, and it ain't gonna work out. So good for you."
So it's a lot going on. But you know what? Going back to Pittsburgh. One amazing stat about the Steelers is something that Bill Belichick has never figured out. They know how to draft receivers.
They sure do.
It's amazing how certain teams know how to draft certain players.
In baseball, the Atlanta Braves know how to make great pitchers.
Yeah.
And in every single sport, the Los Angeles Lakers know about big men. You want to know about the big fella? Look at the history of who it is that they draft. Because I don't care if they're good just for a short period of time. I don't care what anybody says. If Andrew Bynum would have actually gotten the cultivation and the love that he was supposed to get, he could be hanging up there. His jersey could be hanging up there in the rafters with the rest of the Lakers big men because that kid had it.
He had it.
And that's why Jerry West made the move to get Shaquille O'Neal. It all obviously started out with Wilt Chamberlain, then to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, formerly known as Lou Alcindor. They just continue to pass the torch. I can't even front. Vlade Divac used the ball. They know what you need in the middle.
Vlade brought in the flop. I mean, the flop is too much. It hurt the league.
It hurt the league, though. I think what happened.
Yet at the same time, Vlade, don't front on Vlade's numbers. If you go look up Vlade's numbers, Vlade came in and balled.
He balled. You know.
I mean, even Elton Campbell balled low key. Elton Campbell was nice. I wasn't crazy for him, bro. No, I bet you Elton gave you 18, and 10. I bet you he did.
But I do remember with Elton Campbell, I remember him getting in the first big contract.
He got a crazy deal.
He did.
He got a crazy deal. Like almost $100 million, I think.
Yeah, back
like
then.
70, 80 million.
Like, Elton Campbell?
Elton Campbell's good for 80 million. That's like when Mike Conley just signed for 35 a year.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of thing. Even though I think Mike Conley's better point guard now than Elton Campbell was a power forward then. But so no disrespect to Mike Conley, but it's when that collective bargaining agreement changes, and next thing you know, the next set is like crazy over the top.
Like right now.
Like right now. I mean, guys are getting paid in basketball. You crazy?
These guys are almost billionaires, man.
Forget about it. Russell Westbrook just signed for $200 million.
Yeah, 205.
$200 million.
And he waited to sign it.
And he waited. That is a crazy deal. And then you have other guys who act like it's not that big of a deal and sign deals that were like shorter deals under the old agreement for some reason.
I know, man.
I didn't understand that.
Wow. And then,
but I mean, when you're dealing with numbers like that, forget about it.
That is
the ball players are taking it to the next level.
They are.
It's really taking it to the next level. Speaking of which, to switch gears into basketball, Russell Westbrook showed why he got his $200 million deal last night. And, they were talking about it, and they were saying actually part of the problem was he was surprisingly being too passive in trying to get Melo and Paul George involved. And last night he decided to play like they unleashed the beast because he has such a personal vendetta against Kevin Durant. And,
but who's they? He's the one that unleashes the beast. He's the one that's in control of the ball. You pass the ball, then it gets stopped with Melo, or if you pass the ball to Paul George, then it stops with Paul George. Or if he brings the ball up, sometimes he just takes the ball himself. They have the lowest passing rating in the NBA. If there's only one ball out there, if Carmelo Anthony gets the ball, he's going to shoot it. If Paul George gets the ball, he's going to shoot it. And more than likely, Russell Westbrook will pass it to you, and then he wants it back, and then he'll shoot it.
But if you look at their numbers, though, like I've been looking at their numbers, they're all streak shooters, and that's the problem. You'll see Paul George go 4 of 23.
Well, and they're all number ones, and nobody wants to be number two. Nobody. There's a bunch of Batmans out there, no Robins.
I totally agree with that.
Steven Adams is Robin. There's a lot of guys out there that are Robin. It's just that those three guys are Batman, and ultimately what they're going for is not them being Batman. They're going for them being Transformers and for Megatron to unite. And I tell you what, in games like that, when you watch the way that the NBA is played now, if you have one guy that's the guy and two other guys who can light you up at any given time, you can win games, man. Say whatever you want to. You can win games.
Well, why aren't they winning?
Listen, it's early in the season, bro. You can say the same thing about the Cavs. Why aren't the Cavs winning?
Well, but come on.
Oh,
the Cavaliers are champions. The OKC haven't won anything. Yeah, and they're not going to win anything.
We're talking about right now.
But you know what? This whole point that you guys are making just shows you the greatness of LeBron James again, because LeBron James, he figures it out. Even with the new teams, it takes him.
He always figures it out.
He doesn't have all the pieces yet. He's going to get Isaiah back, and then they're going to be a nightmare. Isaiah is going to understand that I'm not Batman.
But
I'm playing with Batman. I'm playing with Superman too.
Some guys are just natural born winners, man. And
I don't believe in a natural born winner theory. The guy works hard, and this is how they get to that point. Derek Jeter could have been anybody else in the league, and he decided that it was not acceptable for him to be anybody except for Derek Jeter. Tom Brady obviously did not have the athletic prowess that it took for him to get to the next level, but he decided to put into work, and he decided to commit in a way that makes him who it is that he is. And when it comes to LeBron James had all the athletic talent in the world, And until he started to understand the game better, which granted we're asking for a lot from a teenager, but until he started to understand the game better, that's when he decided, I'm going to the finals every year. And now we're looking at the 8th or 9th straight year that the guy goes to the finals. He put up 24 in the fourth quarter last night. Whatever gaudy, stupid, over-the-top numbers you want to pull out in the game of basketball, LeBron James is there.
Well, let me just say this. One thing the winners that have is they have 80% attitude, 20% skill, and that.
And LeBron James actually has 98% skill and probably 10% attitude, which I know is more than 100%. But the thing about it that I think that makes it so hard to echo T, that makes it so hard for everybody to accept, is just like it's hard to accept Eldon Campbell getting an $80 million deal when it's 1994, 95. It's hard to accept a guy that's the new prototype of a superstar. It's actually easy to root for Russell Westbrook because Russell Westbrook is a superstar. He wants the cameras on him. He wants the lights on him. LeBron James very rarely flexes his greatness. You know, he's interested in getting other people involved. For the longest time, I agree with you, he did not want the ball at the end of the game for the wrong reasons. Now, he understands the flow of the game to the point where he says, you know what, man, this is the regular season. You guys know good and well this doesn't matter. And when it comes go time, guess what? I'm going to be there.
That's true, too, but when you look at, what people are comparing you to, you can't even imagine what kind of pressure that a person like that is under, you know? They're comparing you to Michael Jordan all of the time.
And why? Because
pressure, man.
Michael Jordan is considered the greatest of all time, which he's really not. I mean, I know a lot of people disagree, but numbers say otherwise.
That's a false equivalent. Now, I won't accept that argument.
Well, you have to accept it. It's true. His numbers don't say that he's the best. What does he lead? What does he lead?
If you watch the game, you are a complete fool if you think that somebody is consistently better than Michael Jordan. It is not possible.
Bill Russell
for watching the games.
Bill Russell.
It is not. No, you didn't watch Bill Russell play.
Yeah, but I didn't have to watch.
Yes, you do. And that's exactly why the numbers are full of shit.
But he's got more rings than LeBron James.
He's got more rings than everybody.
He's got more wins than LeBron James and Michael Jordan put together.
He sure does.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that he's the greatest.
But that's the whole equivalent because everybody's saying that he's got the championship. You got the false.
You don't even understand what false equivalent is.
You got the championship. So now he's got the championship. Bill Russell's got more championships than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's he's not the all-time scorer leader. That's Kareem Abdul. He's not better than Kareem. He's not better than Kareem.
I think what it comes down to too is like you'll look at a ball, somebody like him or Magic, because they have the ball in their
100%. And ultimately, guess what? If Kareem Abdul-Jabbar doesn't play with Magic Johnson, that argument is a bunch of empty scoring numbers that are like Karl Malone's numbers.
Right.
Now, Michael Jordan doesn't need anybody else to get him the basketball.
Exactly.
He doesn't need anybody else to get him open.
Nope.
And he most certainly doesn't need anybody else to put the ball in the hole. That's not even in question. My point is, and I'm even open to the discussion because I feel very strongly about Magic Johnson being the greatest player of all time.
I do too.
And not with Michael Jordan.
Handler too.
But realistically, to try to front on Michael Jordan when the league had 15 teams versus the 30 teams, when there was only one round of the playoffs, if any, this is like trying to say Mickey Mantle.
Michael Jordan lobbied the league to soften up the rules so that he wouldn't get hit anymore.
Well, you can say whatever you want to say, but in that period,
a lot of people don't know that.
In that period of time, which is considered the greatest basketball ever played in the 1980s.
And the early 90s.
Yeah, in the early 90s and 1980s. By the time the 90s came, in the 80s, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Isaiah Thomas, and Julius Erving, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, sorry for disrespecting, were the greatest basketball players in the world and of all time.
And you know,
regardless, easily.
A stat about Magic that I like is the fact that he went to the finals 9 times.
Oh, this is why you can't front on LeBron James.
Yeah,
this is why you can't front on LeBron James. And now with Magic went 9 times and went 5 and 4.
He went 5-4.
He went 5-4 against the greatest competition, the greatest team. Honest to God, LeBron James would never beat that Boston Celtics team ever. I don't care. Any of the incarnations that he had would never beat that Celtics team because they don't have enough grit. It's just not. They don't. They're gonna bully him. They're gonna bully everybody. And with the rest of the thing, the biggest problem is that LeBron consistently plays with guys that aren't tough enough, in my opinion.
I agree with
It's
that.
not him per se, but the rest of the guys aren't tough enough.
They didn't have no answer for McHale.
Nobody has an answer for the McHale except for the Lake Show and the Pistons at one point. And truthfully, that Detroit Pistons team might low-key be the greatest team of all time. The Detroit Pistons back-to-back teams that ran through the Larry Bird Celtics
And
the Michael Jordan Bulls.
Yep.
And the Lakers.
It wasn't that a hell of a documentary?
Maybe my favorite 30 for 30. Maybe my favorite 30 for 30. It was fantastic.
It was fantastic.
Now, so anyways, we get back to present day. Yeah, we'll talk all night about that. LeBron James gets to the point of absurdity when you start looking at his actual numbers. It's like consistently, it's embarrassing. It's like consistently looking at Shaquille O'Neal's finals numbers. These are numbers that they literally don't make any sense. Like, did anybody guard this guy? No, nobody can guard these guys.
Can't guard
They
them.
tried. They put up a great effort.
Kareem has a shot that he invented that nobody could literally stop.
There's no answer.
And he wrote that all the way to being the all-time scoring leader.
You can't stop him. Give me the ball.
A big man.
And guess what? Everybody in the stadium knows everybody in the world knows what I'm going to do.
And you can't stop him.
And you have no answer. Because guess what? I can give it to you from 3-point range. I can give it to you right next to the basket. I might dip on you low-key.
Footwork is crazy.
Through the roof.
Through the roof. I mean, what can you really say? I mean, when they talked to Kareem and when they asked him, what would you have done if you had to guard Shaquille O'Neal? He said he would have fronted Shaq. But one thing that in my opinion, where Shaq would have problems with Kareem is that Kareem would have made him run the floor.
Yeah.
And
Same thing
he
with
would have run the floor. And you know when Ben Wallace did that, that's the year when Shaq lost.
Yeah, but you know what? Yes and no. Yes and no. Okay.
He put crazy numbers up. I know.
Okay, that's what I was about to say. He did make Shaq run, but Shaq gave you 36 and 20 every night.
But they didn't win.
That wasn't Shaq's fault. That was a guy number 8 that had a problem out there.
Was he number 8 at that point?
Yeah, he was KB8. That's when he was actually real nice. KB24 is how he ended up, but KB8 was the one. I think he changed after the sexual assault allegations.
New lease on life.
Yeah,
those teams
change it up.
Like you were saying, those teams play great defense, man.
And these guys,
they took pride in it.
And this is why it's so hard for you to hear the stuff that LeBron says about the people he's being compared to. He's the only person that has ever been compared to Michael Jordan who stayed in the conversation. And when Kobe Bryant came in, Kobe Bryant, for everybody out there who doesn't remember, Kobe Bryant wasn't a part of the Michael Jordan conversation when he first came in. That didn't happen until way down the line.
I mean, that's what they were talking about with Lonzo. You look at Lonzo and you look at Kobe. Kobe struggled just like Lonzo's doing now.
Sure did.
But look at Lonzo is starting to put up numbers across the board. When he just got terrible shooting percentage.
That's it. And free throw percentages T just brought up earlier, which is unacceptable. Shooting 43% from them. He got to fix that ASAP. Truth be told, if he's shooting 43%, that means that he should be averaging 13, 14 points.
Yeah, and that means that obviously the Lakers can't let him be in the game in the fourth quarter.
Listen,
and he's supposed to be the leader of the team. I can't have him in the game.
I don't know why he's supposed to be the leader at 19 years old.
Well, that's Magic didn't put that on him. I don't understand why
that's not
I feel like it's completely
unacceptable. But we got to wrap it up, folks. Trucker Dave, appreciate having you. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving evening.
Be safe on the road.
We're all full of surprises. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to hit a couple topics on our way out. Another friend of the OZone had a great fight this weekend. Anthony Durrell had a great fight. He represented Flint, Michigan. He got a dub. It was ugly and ended up in an ugly headbutt situation, but he got the dub, and I hope he gets picked up by a big network and he's on to bigger and better fights.
He might be on the show in a couple of weeks. He said he's heading out this way.
Well, then you know he's going to be on the show if he's heading out. Then we got we got a couple of RIPs. Last week we forgot to RIP one of our favorite pitchers of all time passed away in a tragic plane accident. Roy Halladay, folks. Roy Halladay is as good as any. On Roy Halladay's best day, he's as good as anybody who's ever picked up the baseball. There's just no two ways about it. Roy Halladay had maybe a 6 or 7 year stint where he was just about unhittable. I mean, this guy, forget about it. And he had that unfortunate accident in a plane that I actually absolutely love, that Honda plane with the fold-up wings. And we just want to send an RIP out to him and his family. We also have a big loss in the tennis world. Yana Novotná, who was a champion several times over, passed away from a long bout with cancer. And it struck the tennis world hard. A lot of people have expressed their condolences. And, you know, it's interesting in sports because just like we're sitting here talking, you remember everybody at the height of their game.
Right. I
remember Roy Halladay, dealing on the Blue Jays or dealing on the Phillies. You don't remember guys, you don't remember people. And it's the same for performers, for actors and everybody else. And, it's always, it puts your own mortality into perspective when these kind of things happen. So RIP in that scenario to Yana Novotná and her family, and also to Roy Halladay. And the very last thing that I want to cover is in our favorite game, a game so fine it's played on diamonds. Ladies and gentlemen, there's rumors that Marlins slugger Giancarlo Stanton may be coming west. Now, he's from Los Angeles. I talked to the big fella at Game 1 of the World Series this year, and he voiced to me in confidence, even though it's not in confidence now, because I'm going to say it on the OZone. But he was interested in coming out. Now, he said west. He wasn't clear to me. I assumed west meant Los Angeles because we were at Chavez Ravine. But as they're saying, the San Francisco Giants might want a piece of that action. And despite what people are saying, and despite what that record looked like, the San Francisco Giants are not that far away from being the 3-time world champion that they have been. They need a closer. They need some pop in the middle of the lineup. And they need a young center fielder. What do you think about that, Icons?
Well, you know what? And they're talking about also throwing D. Gordon into that conversation as well. And anything that they get as far as offense is a plus because they actually have a decent pitching staff. But the problem is that it just seems like a team like that just got old overnight.
Including the coach.
Yeah.
Bruce Bochy started having problems with his heart and all kind of stuff.
And it's crucial because you have to be able to reinvent yourself during a long baseball season. There's 162 games, and you have to reinvent yourself during the season. If you don't, then you're going to have problems like a lot of the Giants. I thought that the Giants were serious contenders this year by picking up Johnny Cueto and Matt Moore. And Matt Moore actually got it together for a little while. But if you give these guys some kind of offensive support.
Ty Block?
Yeah, Ty Block. If you give those guys some kind of offensive support, it changes the way that they pitch. But they didn't have any offense this year.
Can you imagine Buster Posey and Giancarlo and Brandon Belt?
It's a problem.
Because Brandon Belt's got that crazy major league pop, too. Nobody talks about it.
In between them? Come on, man. Move Buster Posey to make a move. Yeah. And if he wants to be on the West Coast, the best coast.
Wait a minute. Who doesn't want to be on the West Coast? Did you look at the mercury today? It was at 86 degrees today on Thanksgiving, ladies and gentlemen. What was it like where you were?
No kidding.
Man.
I totally agree.
Well, that's all we got. It's time for me to go get some homemade ice cream, folks. Going to leave you with a quote about unity on Thanksgiving and recognize that we need to unite in this country and in general. I posted a tweet yesterday that if you look at it, last Thanksgiving, the Native Americans up in South Dakota and North Dakota were being tortured and dragged off of their land for protesting against an oil pipeline that President Obama stepped up and closed down. President Cheeto decided to open it back up, and surprise, surprise, an oil spill happened. 210,000 gallons of oil spilled onto their land, into their water supply, and that was around Thanksgiving. And now we're back on Thanksgiving, and it's time to look at where we are and unify. So I want to leave you with a quote about unity, and it is from Theodore Bickel. No doubt, unity is something to be desired, to be striven for, but it cannot be willed by mere declarations. Unity, faith, love, they're all action words, folks. They're verbs. Take care of each other. We'll take care of you. This is the OZone. I'm your host, Omar Miller.
OZone.
I'm just living the dream. I'm in love with the lights.